day, Sir Candole. I am Jeremy Halapa from Group 5. Me and my group will talk about the fixed verse and modern poetry. So, first things first, we will talk about the Vinadal. So, Vinadal is a fixed form consisting of 5 tercet with 3 lines, like 5 tercet, like 5 stanza. Each of them has 3 lines. So, it also has 1 quatrain with 4 lines. So, always remember the quatrain always be the last or final stanza of the poem. So Vinadal it has a straight poetry form. It always be 19 lines, and also it has 2 rhymes. It always be 2 rhymes, and this was developed by French origin. So before we talk about that, so why is it 19 lines? Where did it come from? For example, like I said earlier, the 5 tercet with 3 lines, like we have to times this, like 5 times 3 equals 15, and then 1 quatrain times 4. So 15 and 4, we had to add them. So it equals 19 lines. So that is why the Vinadal it always be 19 lines. We have to differentiate the refrain and true refrain. So what is the similarities of them? So the refrain and true refrain is always a repeated lines, but the refrain is like this. The sentence is slightly changed, but the true refrain is no change at all, like the exactly same. So we will talk about where the name come from of Vinadal. So the name come from Italy, which is mean rustic or song. Like rustic means countryside, not fancy. So it also kind of village folk song, sometimes with dance. So people in Italy use this in song and dance. Dylan Thomas, 1914 to 1953. So he was best known Vinadal in English, but his poem is different. So his poem or his subject was focuses about grief or death. So Vinadal was only focuses is rural song or pastoral themes, but his poem is so different, right? So his poem was focuses about grief and death. So not many Filipino was write of Vinadal or any fixed verse forms. It is because Vinadal was came from French origin, and the name which came from Italy and Filipino, and with this it has a different history and a different tradition. This is why not many Filipino writes a Vinadal or any fixed verse form. We will talk about how to write a Vinadal. So first things first, of how to write a Vinadal is to think of an idea. For example, the selfie poetry, which is written by Peter Solisnary. So like for example, you have to think an idea to like connected sa imong emotions. So, the 2-step of how to write a Vinadal is to decide on your topic. For example, like Peter Solisnary is like he didn't want to offend some readers, so he put at himself or like make laugh of himself. So and also, ang selfie pod nga word is new and hip sword. So, maka-attract sa mga young readers. So, kuan ka nang naghimo si Peter Solis Neri ka nang kuan ka nang ga-decide bitaw siya to make fun binalay. So, to decide on your topic, the third step is to copy the rhyme pattern. So, this is a structure of the Vinanel. So, this is where the repeating lines, which is the A1 and A2. And also, it has a letter of A O P. And without this guide, malos imuhang poem. If for example, like, mani siyang kuan bitaw, like, more bitaw ni siya ang kanang pattern bitaw nga kuan kanang, for example, more siya map to keep your poem organized. So, kailangan ni siya, ang poem rhyme scheme is to organize your poem. So, the fourth step of your how to write your Vinalay is to look at the including 2 lines in the scheme. So, in this step it is important because the A, B, and A2 is like gaak bitaw siya on curse. So, muni siya kanang ang poem is maput bitaw siya together. So, like, mabitaw ni siya ga-carry bitaw sa main message bitaw. For example, kato sa Peter Solis Neri, kato the Selfie Poet. So, here's the example of it. So, A1, mani siyang the first katong sa first line or the first tercet, I mean, with a turn, like, with a 3 lines. So, here's the example of it. So, A1, he is a poet with too much ego. So, muna siya kanang gahatag bitaw siya kanang message bitaw, and also like gina repeated in a several times kit siya sa poet. And also ang A2, that's Peter Solis Neri, my hero. So, muna siyang example sa step 4. So, the fifth step of how to write your Panalay is to fill in all A1 and A2. So, dahil na siya nga makitaan bitang structure bitaw before ka mag-write og anything else. So, muna siya kanang kuan bitaw kanang foundation bitaw sa kanang, like, it is like a setting the foundation before building the house, like for example lang na. And then kuan pa ni siya kanang it's make it easier to follow where to place your repeating lines later on. Like gi-organize bitaw nimo siya, like idaan na nimo imuhang kana bitaw, like makita na bitaw nimo full structure bitaw kung asa nimo dapita ibutang ang katong mga repeated lines before ka mag-write og anything else. And sayon maka na siya to make it more easier para dili kay siya listed sa pag-write og Panalay. So, the sixth step of the how to write a Panalay. So, muna siyang to write the first stanza. So, muna siya kanang it is because it grabbed the attention of the reader because the first stanza introduce the main idea of your poem. So, muna siyang the set of the tone bitaw, like kanang unsa imong na-feel, unsa imong mood at the time, like unsa imong rhyme style. Okay, the reader always notice the repeating lines. So, it is important also to write the first stanza. And the seventh the seventh step of how to write your vanilla. So this is the important thing also. So after we finish the first stanza, we need to head to next stanza. Mani siya ang to write the next stanza. So each of it, like pwede ka maka-add o ka ng ideas and emotions. So kani siya ka ng each stanza adds more ideas, the thoughts, and to connect each of your message, and also to remind the readers unsa gid imong main message. So this part also build emotion, and also each stanza make your theme stronger. The eighth step of the poem is to finish the poem. So this is where we find the quatrain. Like I said earlier, the final and the last stanza called quatrain. So this is where the closure of the poem. It also used both repeated lines like A1 and A2. And also, this is where kanang give bitaw ka kanang sending to your final message or realization message to your readers. So, and also, kuan man siyang kanang give bitaw siya strong or finish gahatag siya og kanang strong bitaw kay siya nga message bitaw sa pinakalasan. And also kanang ang poem sad kay makamake bitaw siya kanang stronger and satisfying. The ninth step of how to write a vanilla is to create a title. So this is where you create your title to make the readers more understand or have an idea on your poem. So, for example, in your poem, like, before the readers started reading, is they have a context or they have idea what is the poem all about. So, the readers so it gives context or make your poem easier to understand. The 10th step is to revise and polish your poem. This is where you editing your poem. For example, if ever there's a wrong grammar or makahelp pud ni siya kanang kailangan siyang i-revise bitaw para makahelp bitaw kanang mayroong grammar bitaw nimo or kanang sa rhyme nimo, and also to make your poem more smoother and more emotionally. So, and also kanang dili man pud as in nga first nimo og himo og poem kis ma-perfect siya. So, needed siya i-revise and also to polish your poem before you publish your poem to the public. So the 11th step is to sign it and to be proud of it, of your work. So needed man siya if ever. So kailangan gid siya nga before you finish or publish your work, you have to sign it, like it represents that you made this poem. So it is all about confidence and also to recognizing your creativity. So needed po siya nga ibutang imong pangalan dito nga naka-authorship and pride on your work. So
I am Hans Rolly Kulis. We discuss about modern poetry. So we have a difference between modern poetry and traditional poetry. Traditional poetry is follow rules like rhyme, meter, and structure. So follow siya sa rules like rhyme, meter, and structure. So ang modern poetry is more free, spirited, and experimental. It focuses on expressing emotion and thoughts in unique way without worrying about it. So ang modern poetry is the expressing siya of feelings like emotion and thoughts in unique way.
Good evening everyone, I am Chelky Cordero of grade 12 St. Constantine, and I am here to report about the free verse and modern poetry. Imagism was a style of poetry that started in the early 90s. It focuses on showing clear, strong images using simple and exact words. For example, a haiku, a fixed 575 syllable pattern. Morning dew clings tight to the thin blade of green grass. Sunlight melts it slow. Morning dew clings tight. Morning dew clings tight to the thin blade of green grass. Sunlight melts it slow. 575 syllable pattern. So moving on to free verse. It is a type of poetry that does not follow strict rules of rhyme or rhythms. For example, loosely patterned but not rhymed. The sun dips low behind the hills. Shadows stretch like lazy cats across the quiet fields. So let's tackle about visual poetry. It is a poem that uses pictures made from words to show its meaning. Example, a simple diamond shape with rhyming lines like sky, blue high, birds fly by, clouds drift slow, sky. So that's it for my reporting, and hope you all understand of what is fixed verse and modern poetry.